The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. It's Emily Petrova here from the Improvement Service. I'm also joined by my colleague Claire Sherry today. Thank you very much for joining today's webinar. We have Terry Hogg and Chloe Purves from Scottish Enterprise, and they're going to talk about the Can Do Innovation Challenge Fund. Just before I pass you on to Terry and Chloe, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please use the little grey box on your screen to type them in, and I will pick them up at the end. So on to Terry and Chloe now. Thank you.
That's great, Emily. Can I just say one thing, Emily? We are seeing, I'm just wondering if the audience are seeing the sort of control panel as well as the slides.
Terry, that'll just be you, just because you're in as a presenter.
Right,
so don't worry about that.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Well, listen. Firstly, folks, apologies for the slight delay. We've had a couple of IT meltdowns in succession there, so apologies for that. I managed to jump on another machine here. So thanks very much for your time this morning, and we're going to spend, I'm not going to spend too long going through the slides. I reckon just maybe about sort of 10-15 minutes just taking you through our new Innovation Challenge Fund. It was launched by the Minister for Innovation and Enterprise on the 7th of November. It's a new national fund, and we're hoping that those on the line today will be interested in engaging with it. It's a little bit of a departure from the normal way that Scottish Enterprise support innovation, and it's part of an agenda that the government and we have of basically looking at whether we can work with the public sector to identify where you have particular issues with delivering your services in terms of the efficiency improvements that you need to make, or indeed some quality improvements, and using that challenge, that driver as a stimulus for company innovation. So, you know, the fund is really set up to improve public services, but also use that challenge, if you like, to stimulate innovation within the company base, and I'll explain how it works. So I'm just really going to go through basically what the fund is, how it's structured, how it works, and the benefits it can give to you, and just indicate the process, if you're interested, the process through which you can engage and apply with the fund. So I'm just going to step through into the initial slide, if I can. Okay, so just in terms of the fund itself, yeah, sorry, I'm just moving the little screen out there so I can see my slides. So in terms of the background to the fund, we've spent about the last sort of year and a half, I think, looking at what other countries are doing in this space, and there's a lot of activity in utilising public sector drivers and service and policy improvements to stimulate innovation and economic development. By far the sort of most well-established and largest approach is in the United States. It was a surprise to me. The freest of free market economies is really focusing a lot of attention on their federal departments and organisations, and looking at their innovation challenges and actually funding companies to solve them. So in the US, it's called the SBIR, Small Business Investment and Research Scheme, and they mandate their federal governments to identify innovation challenges and fund a percentage of their R&D budget through a mechanism that then pushes those challenges into the company base. And currently it's running about $2.5 billion per annum is put into that scheme to improve, as I say, federal agencies' ability to deliver their policy and service objectives, but obviously it stimulates economic development too. And that's been going since the early 80s. In the EU, they've been looking at this approach, I think since about 2007, and they're really pushing member states to basically embrace this area and try and emulate the United States approach. So what we're looking at is where are the public sector societal challenges that need to be met, and how can we solve those challenges and stimulate economic development as well. And one of the areas that's ripe for that, and one that the EU is promoting through this approach as well, is the low carbon agenda. For instance, and the EU has currently got some 200 million euros over the next few years identified to use this this mechanism, this approach, and as well as solving the innovation challenges, the approach they adopt is slightly different as well. And so it's not a grant-based approach to companies, but what we're looking to do is to procure R&D and procure solutions to challenges. So from a company perspective, if you like, it's a procurement opportunity, 100% funded procurement opportunity to solve the challenge for the public sector. So it's a slightly different approach in terms of it's got a customer, it's got demand, but it's also a kind of contract opportunity for companies. Closer to home, we've got the UK Small Business Research Initiative, which we're working closely with, and basically this is a UK approach to what's called pre-commercial procurement, which is the underlying mechanism, which I'll step you through. I don't want to bore you too much procurement detail, but that procurement process in terms of the legal framework, processes and contracts is operated by Innovate UK at the Small Business Research Initiative, and we're using that within our pilots and our new fund. And closer to home, Wales, Northern Ireland have all launched similar funds over the last few years and have been very successful in stimulating interest from the public sector and pulling through innovative companies for those challenges. So that's the kind of background and context of why we're interested in this area. As I said, we have been involved in some pilot approaches just to get our heads around actually this way of operating, working with the public sector as a potential customer for the innovation and also working on that procurement model. So I won't go into too much detail, but I thought this would give you a flavour for some of the types and range of challenges that we've been looking at as well. So one of the early ones, we worked with Scottish Water and SEPA, and this was led by our colleagues in Highlands and Islands Enterprise, and that was a project that was looking at innovative technologies to effectively remove nasty chemicals or priority substances, as they're called, from the water stream. It funded about 7 companies to develop initial concepts, and then funded 2 companies to take forward the most promising concepts into prototype, and they're now being demonstrated with Scottish Water. We've ran a few challenges ourselves with NHS Scotland. The first couple have been in the area of, I would say, largely described as e-health. The first one was looking at improving the ability of type 1 diabetes patients to manage their condition, and particularly 15 to 24-year-olds. It's a key target, as they are not responding well to the traditional educational format and content. It's mostly a physical work-based, workshop-based approach. So the thinking was, if we could provide novel approaches through e-learning and using mobile technologies, video, personalised healthcare, it could be useful to stimulate more interest and get people to buy into the actual content and present in a more entertaining, customised way. So that project kicked off, and we funded 5 companies, actually, best 5 companies to develop their initial concepts, and we subsequently funded 2 of the best of those through into prototype development and testing, which we're currently undertaking with NHS and NHS test beds. The next one is dermatology, and again it's looking at, and again this will be probably familiar to a lot of folk in the public sector, that increasing demands on service and finite amount of resources to deliver them, and this happens to be the dermatology care pathway pressure, but it's right across NHS, and as I say, I'm sure across a number of other public sector organisations. But what we're looking to do here is to optimise the time spent by consultants in their consultation period, but just basically get the right people through the process at the right time using digital and physical products. We are currently just coming to the end of a phase 1 project where we're evaluating 5 novel approaches to support the dermatology process. Some of them are IT, sort of what I would describe as workflow based, but there's a couple of interesting camera based technologies in there, which could really improve the ability of GPs to take high quality images of various potential cancers and email them or upload them to consultants to do remote diagnostics. So that's looking really interesting, just moving through into phase 2. Early in the process, we've got looking at irritable bowel disorder, and we've got 5 companies exploring concepts to improve that care pathway, and we also have one at initial stages of looking at cancer and I suppose big data and informatics to improve outcomes on cancer. So a wide range of project opportunities with the NHS that we are embarking on with this new model. On a kind of smaller scale, if you like, so those are sort of chunky. We're talking 6 months, 30k projects each for concept development, and roughly maybe 100 to 150k each company to develop and test prototypes. But the approach is really flexible, because the next ones are at a real smaller scale. And we've been working with Transport Scotland, looking at, I suppose, utilising the digital infrastructure that's being put in the A9 upgrade, and can we actually utilise that connectivity to improve the ability of Transport Scotland to deliver their service, but also, you know, to try and utilise the fact that people are bombing up the A9 and could be actually persuaded to maybe stop off at local shops and businesses on the way up. So there's been a couple of projects in there in those areas that have looked at you know, looking at novel sensor technology to improve Transport Scotland's ability to manage their O&M, operation and maintenance facilities, and this is looking at basically using technologies within mobile phones to effectively pick up vibrations, and from that determine whether the road surface is deteriorating, and can send that information back to the operation and maintenance folks. On the tourism side, there's some really interesting projects looking at tapping into radio frequencies and being able to allow folks to basically advertise as you are passing or nearing a junction, to basically encourage you to, depending on your preferences, to maybe stop off and visit our local businesses. Now, they're smaller scale projects, and we are working closely with our colleagues in Scottish Government, who have a little programme called CivTech, so don't get too bogged down on the sort of processes, if you like, but this is a smaller scale, faster process. So it's about a 3-month process in total. The first phase 1 projects, each company was given a couple of grand to basically develop their concept, and then the winning solution was given £15,000 and almost 3 months to develop what they call the minimal viable product, or a prototype development. So much smaller, much faster, and that's linked into an interesting co-development facility in Edinburgh as well. And we also had a couple of projects with SEPA, one looking at air quality modelling, so that was a software-based number crunching product, and also looking at flood modelling and forecasting, and this was looking at a novel low-cost flood sensor to support SEPA's already existing network of flood detection devices. So, you know, just to indicate there's a wide range of challenges we can look at in terms of software, physical products. The scale of the project is really flexible as well. So just wanted to highlight that, and that's really given us sort of confidence. Those projects have been very well received. The company interest in them has been incredible. You know, we're really pleased with the interest from the innovative companies out there, and we're seeing an increase in interest from the public sector in this model. So basically, the fund has been developed on the back of that experience, and it's really about now scaling up. So if I move on slides. Oops. So in terms of the fund itself, as I say, it's a scale up. We're moving from those small pilot projects, and we've now got a £9.2 million fund over 4 years, and that's set up to support you, the public sector, to address your innovation challenges. That's the unique part about it as well from our experience in Scottish Enterprise. We are not funding the companies as such, we are funding you, the public sector, to address that innovation challenge. It's also a national innovation fund. The pilot projects where we had a number of different agencies all involved who are supporting different aspects of innovation, and we've now come together and genuinely as a Team Scotland approach. We've got ourselves leading the fund, the Scottish Government participating, also Highlands and Islands Enterprise and the Scottish Funding Council, so genuinely national coordinated approach. And as I say, it's really set up to provide industry with an R&D contract to deliver a solution to your challenge. In terms of the benefits to you, the public sector, we and our team can help you to identify, shape up the innovation challenge and identify the most appropriate support process. So, I took you through the Small Business Research Initiative and I mentioned CivTech. We'll work with you to identify the most appropriate process to suit your innovation challenge. We have, the fund is competitive, has 2 calls per annum. I'll just touch on a wee update on where we're at, but we had the first call at the end of July and the next call is open with the 19th of January deadline. So that funding is up to 100% to support you to address the innovation challenge and find solutions to it. But we're also developing a really wide network of innovative industry players who can solve that challenge, and we can tap you and your challenge into that. Less interest to yourself, obviously, but from the company perspective, we're able to provide them up-to-date, demand-driven innovation challenges, which effectively means there's a real customer at the end of this, which is really attractive to the companies. And as I say, they get an R&D contract, not a grant. It's 100% funding for those who are successful. We also are able to build collaborative approaches as well, given that network, and hook the companies into the innovation network. So just going to take you through how it works. It's a little bit unusual, particularly folks who are involved in this area in terms of procurement as well. So this slide really just graphically displays the process. As I say, I'm not going to get too much procurement detail, but I just wanted to step you through how it works in practice. So we will select and fund the public sector to run the procurement of innovation to address their innovation challenge. And in this instance, we basically develop a functional specification or a brief. So describe your challenge without describing a solution in mind, to make it as generic as we can and really explore the solution space. And in this example, we then take that brief and go to the marketplace. So we will have an open procurement competition. We will seek proposals from the industry about who can come up with clever ideas to solve your challenge, and we will then evaluate the responses to that brief, that procurement opportunity. And in this instance, on the left-hand side there, the 4 best proposals have been selected and will all be funded to develop their concept. So you went to the open market, you selected the strongest 4 proposals and funding them all in parallel to develop effectively competing concepts. You then review those concepts after a set period of time, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, and then you take, in this instance, you've taken the 3 best concepts through into prototype development. And again, funding them all on a parallel basis, on a competitive basis. You then evaluated those prototypes there, and you've took 2 companies through, the best 2 strongest prototypes through into demonstrating in situ with the customer. So that process, as I say, it's phased. It gives you, the challenge sponsor, the ability to really explore solution space and also de-risk the exercise by having that phased development. You're only taking solutions through the strongest solutions that meet your requirements. There's no obligation to continue the process if you don't find solutions which are meeting your needs, but that's the process there, that phased stage gate approach, if you like. So that allows you to then demonstrate that solution and see that it meets your needs, hopefully. And there would be legally, there would be a separate procurement exercise that would need to be undertaken to then procure that solution. But by that time, the suppliers there are obviously demonstrated effectively in situ, and in all likelihood would be securing contracts with you. From a company perspective, it gives them access to you, your requirements, and it allows them to crucially get that first customer and demonstrate in situ and in the field, if you like. So it's a really powerful approach to give you satisfaction. You can get a solution customized to your needs, but also the companies can go through a process where they understand your requirements, can tailor a solution to your requirements, and are able to test and de-risk that innovation. A little bit of detail, but we're working with Scottish Government to look at an innovation partnership process as well, which we're going to be piloting next year, which effectively joins that downstream procurement with the R&D exercise. But that's probably a little bit of more detail than you need at this point. So just in terms of the fund process, I'll just step through this very quickly. So as I say, we have 2 calls per annum. So it's a competitive exercise. So the next call is 19th of January. And you basically articulate your innovation challenge in a really simple, easy to complete expression of interest, or EOI form. It's very, very light touch at this stage in terms of how you describe the innovation challenge and its potential value. We will then review, so after the 19th of January, we'll review those innovation challenges, and we will then select the strongest challenges to then support. And what we'll be looking at there is a combination of things. We're looking at solutions that, challenges that can improve public sector service delivery, but also can potentially provide innovative companies with a market opportunity out with yourself. So what we're looking at is challenges that you have that can be solved, but that others have, and that have an impact on your organisation. We'll take the strongest, highest potential impact challenges through this procurement of an innovation route that I described there, and we'll then look to work with you to ensure that as much as we can, if solutions are meeting your requirements, that we can then move them into implementation and procurement, and we'll be providing business support for companies as well. I should say that also what we're looking to do is, if for whatever reason the challenge doesn't meet the threshold and go down the procurement of innovation route, there are other ways we can look to solve your challenges, maybe through more traditional grant-based approaches, and we will consider those as well with you. So just to sort of summarise the benefits then, key benefits. So as I say, from you, the public sector organisation, with that innovation challenge, it's an opportunity for you to really explore that solution space and really explore creative solutions to your operational challenge. And there's good evidence base that by developing a customised solution for you, that will then subsequently improve service quality, but also reduce delivery costs, long-term procurement costs by, and as I say, there's a good body of evidence, particularly through the EU member states, that this is actually a cost-effective way of doing that. Oh, sorry, I'm just getting a bit of feedback there. Sorry, I was with 2 microphones on there and I was getting a bit of feedback, apologies. Yeah, so that's really the benefit to you, as I say, get access to lots of different ideas about how your challenges can be solved, that customized solution, improve quality, reduce service cost. But we're also, through the fund, recognizing that there's a risk element there. This is, we're not kidding ourselves on. This is a new and novel approach for many in the public sector. So the reason for our involvement in the fund is to get over that risk. So we can provide up to, we would like to see some contributions, but we are looking to find the best challenges. So it's not going to be a deal breaker, but we really, it's a competitive fund, so it's worth bearing in mind if there is a potential match funding there, then it would increase your chances of support. But we can fund up to 100% to help you find and develop solutions with innovative businesses. And again, that phased and competitive procurement process also de-risks the exercise and ensures that you get a solution that meets your needs. From industry point of view, as I said before, they get that crucial first customer. That's almost the biggest barrier to innovation. Normally is, great prototype, but who wants to buy a solution that's not been already tested? You need to be up for getting that customized solution and doing that initial demonstration with the industry partner. But then again, this is important to bear in mind as well, and one of the real aspects that we're looking for within the challenges is that we need it to have a market out with yourself. So it's an opportunity to get a first customer for the company, demonstrate de-risk the technology, but use that as a stepping stone to wider markets. And they in turn get, if they're successful, get an R&D contract. It's not a state aid, it's not a grant, it's 100% funded R&D contract opportunity. But there is an aspect, and this is worth flagging up front as well, there is an aspect to, we want a solution for you, the public sector, but we want the companies to retain the ability to exploit that solution out with yourself. So they will retain the right to exploit the intellectual property that's created in the R&D competition. So it's worth putting that up front. It's in our mind, you're looking for the solution to ultimately buy the solution that's customized to your needs, but we want the company to retain the right to exploit it in other markets, as say ideally international markets. Screen seems to have frozen, apologies. Right, next. Okay, so just to sort of give you an idea of where we are with the fund, we had the first call on the end of July with 43 expressions of interest. We've got the first 5 have actually just last month there just been launched, and we will have 1 a month for the next few months being launched through the SPRI process. So just in summary, what they are is we have an electric vehicle smart charging challenge from Edinburgh City Council that we are taking forward. We next will be an innovative, flexible and ideally self-powered CCTV camera solution that's been looked for by South Ayrshire Council, but obviously that will have a wider market through other local authorities. We then have a challenge from Scottish Water, which is looking at taking organic pollutants out of the water supply, but in a distributed sense. So it's a rural application there. So basically small scale water purification, which could, as I say, have a real opportunity to provide Scottish Water with a solution, but a wider market elsewhere. And we have next in line will be Glasgow City Council, who are looking at innovative solutions to social care provision and particularly overnight care services, looking at using technology, potentially innovative, I'm getting solutions here, but it's likely to be some form of innovative video mixed with sensor technologies, which basically can allow folks to be monitored with less intrusive human-based approaches with someone basically babysitting them all night. There will be that people factor there, but the service is about trying to look at where we can use technology where it's appropriate and optimise that service. And last out the blocks will be NHS Highland, looking at a surgical pre-cleaning process. So that's a physical-based product. Those 5 challenges will all be taken down the Small Business Research Initiative route. And again, that's just basically a standard approved and legally robust set of processes and contracts that we can use. And just to give you an idea of the scale of those challenges, we're looking at 4 to 5 companies being funded over 6 months, a range of contract values from 20 to 30k each. We'll then move into phase 2 prototype, and that'll take 1 to 2 of those best concepts through to prototype development testing over a 12 to 18 month period, and looking at maybe 100 to 150k contract value. But again, the fund is really flexible. We can and we are looking at interesting challenges in the digital area for small scale challenges, and we're also working with our CivTech colleagues as well and looking to support the next cohort for CivTech through this call as well. So the next call is open, deadline 19th of January, and again, it's quite soon after the new year, but there's still time for us to talk to you about your particular challenges, help you shape them up and identify the scale of them, most appropriate project. And again, just to emphasise that the SPRI projects are quite chunky, but we are open for smaller scale and also faster time to market in terms of the development process. We're actually interested in those challenges as well. So it's a bit of a canter through. The web link's there. There's full information on the fund process. The guidelines are up there. The expression of interest is up there. But I think the key thing from this webinar is just to stress, look, this is really it's really flexible. We just need you to identify that operational challenge. If it's clear to you that there's a market out with there, it's going to make an impact on the public sector, then it potentially is eligible. There is an important aspect that should be stressed as well, that we're providing the funding here, and the team will support you with the process. But you need to identify basically a project manager, someone who will lead the project for you. We will, and it's deliberately set up this way. It's really important that you have full ownership of the challenge. The fund team will support you, as I say, through the process. We'll transfer the knowledge with you. We've got Innovate UK as well to support that, but you need to lead it. We'll be part of the project team with you, and that's about making sure that there's internal buy-in, but also it's really important that we focus on the fact that if we're successful, we're looking to implement the solution. There's a lot of projects out there where they've done the R&D, done the demonstration, and the projects have failed to then find their way into the organisations. We really want to have that up front, and indeed that will be part of the evaluation criteria as well. So that's the important point to recognise, is that you need to have a good quality challenge, an appetite to implement the solution directly yourself or with others if that's more appropriate to your particular business and business model. But yeah, you need to provide the project manager resource to support that. So that's really me in terms of slides and content. Apologies again for the shaky start, and thanks for bearing with us. As I say, key thing is further information on the website, contact details are there, and we're just really keen to talk to help you to get interest in this next call, and hope that it is of interest and that we see a number of applications from yourselves on the call today. Okay, so that's me. I'm happy to take any questions now.
Thank you very much, Terry, for the presentation. It was really interesting. Just a reminder, if anyone wants to ask a question, to use the little grey box on your screen.
Okay, so I'm just going to bring that. I'd put the wee column. It was hiding. Okay. So Emily, I don't seem to see the wee screen where the questions are going to be.
On the question front at the moment, so I'll use the time. Just to say that the webinar recording and the slides will be available on the Knowledge Hub and also the Improvement Service YouTube channel afterwards. So I will send in a follow-up email with the details to everyone.
Okay. But yeah, I'm going to say, if there's folks are kind of mulling over that's fine. But the key thing for us is that we are very, just to stress that we're really keen. If you think you've got an idea but you're not quite sure, just get in contact and we can quickly chat it through.
There's just another question saying, I assume there will be another call after January?
Yeah, we're running 2 calls per annum, so yeah, so roughly 6 months apart.
Thank you. Okay, yep. Here's another couple of questions. So, if successful and we're at purchase stage from company, is there any funding assistance from Scottish Enterprise with this?
Okay, do you mind just saying that again, Emily? So I can be
Sorry,
clear.
If successful and we're at the purchase stage from company, is there any funding assistance from Scottish Enterprise with this?
Okay, so the funding support from the fund is about the R&D stage, so it gets you to the demonstrator. The next phase would be like any other procurement. If you've got now you've basically been able to develop a solution that's customised to your needs. It would then be down to the individual organisation to then procure that from its operational budget. So there wouldn't be funding for the procurement as such.
Okay, I've got another one here. In terms of technology, are you looking at things beyond apps, things like physical tech, like sensors?
Yeah, we are indeed. We are indeed. It's completely open for software products or physical-based products. The key thing is that there's not a solution already in the marketplace. If there's a need for innovation, there's a need for some form of R&D to develop a new solution, then it can be software-based, physical-based, or a mixture of both.
Thanks very much for that, Terry. Just a wee reminder, any other questions, just to put them in. Okay, we've got another one here. We're talking about companies getting their first customer. Are you expecting new companies to bid in around these challenges?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. I think by and large the experience we've had to date, the majority of companies are already established, but there's nothing to preclude someone setting up a company on the back of this. We would obviously looking to issue a contract with a legal entity, but there's a critical part is that we want to focus on commercialization. So at some point during that process, we would need to be convinced that there was a viable route to market. So an individual would need to form a company and be in a position to take that forward, I think, to allow them to be successful in securing the contracts, because that is quite an important criteria when we're assessing bids from industry. And I should say that it could be an academic department. We've had that in the past where an academic organisation has secured a phase 1 contract with the proviso that they need to be forming a spin out or working with an established business to then provide a convincing commercialisation vehicle. Because I say ultimately what we want to do is to get to a stage where we can have the public sector procuring the solution as they would any other market ready solution, so that a legal entity and a company needs to be able to deliver that product and inevitably the service that's probably going to go behind it.
Thank you, Terry. We've got another question saying, how long does the assessment process take? How did you go from 43 bids of interest to find the 5 challenges?
Yep, so the assessment process is roughly about 6 weeks in total. And what we're doing is having a sort of 2-phased approach where effectively we will have a first filter. Despite the fact we've got the guidelines and doing talks like these, that there has been occasions where challenges don't really meet the criteria, so there'll be an initial sort of sift, if you like. We'll then evaluate those challenges on their the full details are on the fund guidelines, but effectively if you can think about the impact on the public sector purse and the potential economic impact is the sort of 2 key criteria that we have there, and it's really it's quite a rudimentary sort of scoring system. It's early stage, so it's difficult to be exact with these things, but really what we're doing is assessing the relative impact of the challenges. So we are, depending on how many we get in, we give them an assessment and a score and a ranking effectively. The highest ranking challenges through that initial expression of interest process will be assessed and taken forward, and then there'll be I suppose a more detailed full application that's developed on the back of that. But effectively all it's really doing is exploring the areas within the expression of interest in a little more detail, and there's a little more due diligence that's undertaken to support that. We've got a range of sector experts, policy experts that are supporting the process as well, to sort of shape up and evaluate the challenges. So in terms of the 43 to the 5, I wouldn't let that put you off. We were really overwhelmed by the response rate, which is great. We're taking 5 initially through, but there are a number of them that are really promising that we are working with the challenge sponsors to try and maybe address some issues that we're in them, and they may look at them in the future. But there's also other ones that we're looking at to take down the different route, the grant route, as I described to you. So hopefully that explains the process. I say roughly a sort of 6 weeks turnaround from getting the expressions interest in to making that decision. But again, this is all outlined on the web guidance document as well.
Thank you, Terry. We've got another one here. Can you explain a little bit more about the funding and being part of CIFTech 3.0?
Sure. Yeah. So in terms of the funding, we have a fund. The application, we will ask you, to give us an indication of the scale of the challenge. There's some guidance within the web documentation which gives you a sort of typical range that we have found from the pilots. Phase 1 are typically 3 to 5 successful companies over maybe a 3 to 6 month period. We've seen companies maybe securing contracts at the digital scale, maybe about sort of 10 grand for that sort of 3 month period, or we funded up to sort of 30k as well. So there is a range. It's not an exact science. The physical products will probably take a lot more than the digital ones, so there is a lot of flexibility in there. But yeah, in terms of the CIFTech 3.0, then we're working very closely with the guys there. So they've just been doing the road shows and promoting the next cohort, but also the fact that the fund can support it. So the timings are now aligned in that, and within the application form, if you are interested in the CIFTech model, you just indicate that on the expression of interest. We'll work closely with the CIFTech guys, and basically if it's a digital or an Internet of Things based challenges and you indicate that you're interested in the CIFTech cohort, then potentially you could be one of the lucky challenge sponsors that makes its way through into that CIFTech 3 process and has the challenge funded by the fund. So we're pretty agnostic in terms of the process, but if it will be for the challenge sponsors to decide if that's right. I mean, I think it does have some real benefits in it for challenge sponsors, in that the educational content, the sort of business workshops are being offered to the public sector as well. There's a co-development facility there based in Edinburgh, and you go through it with a number of challenge sponsors in parallel. So the last one, I think, was about 9 individual challenge sponsors and companies all going through that. So there is quite an interesting sort of knowledge sharing opportunity there. That said, you would need to sign up to the fact and commit to the Edinburgh-based facility, which might not suit you, and also the timescales might not suit you. But we're completely flexible. So we're keen, and we'll feed the challenges that are of the digital and Internet of Things nature, and the sponsors who are interested in CIFTech and indicate. So we'll feed them into the CIFTech folks as part of the evaluation process. So it's a fully integrated, simple and coordinated approach. One entry point, if you like, for public sector challenge sponsors to present their challenges. We'll evaluate them, try and find the most appropriate process, and try and support you with the cost of it.
Thank you very much, Terry. I don't think there are any more questions at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think we'll just finish off here. Once again, thank you for the presentation, and thanks to everyone who joined today's webinar. You will all see a couple of questions at the end, so it will be greatly appreciated if you could please give us some feedback just before you go. I want to let you all know that at the moment we are trialling something called Change Framework, and it's a repository for useful templates, tools, good practice examples, and it's open to local government and their partners. So if you would like to get access, you can email us at changemanagement@improvementservice.org.uk. Terry, is there anything else you would like to add at the end?
No, just thanks to yourself, and thanks to everyone for attending, give us the time. Again, apologies for the wee delay in getting the IT sorted out from our end. But yeah, just to stress, look, just drop us a wee email if you want to discuss a challenge in any detail, or the fund in any detail, and we'll arrange a suitable time to speak to you. But just thanks again for your time this morning, and thanks again to you, Emily, for setting it up and bearing with us with the IT issues.
It's okay. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.